Alright, so before I stick the transmission in, I pulled all the bolts out of the pressure plate here, and I'm just gonna check this clutch and make sure it's good. And I'm really glad I did, because that baby is toast. Look at that. Phew. Alright, so I have this used clutch disc. This was out of a HNSI, and I put a stage 4 clutch in it and took this one out. You can see this one's got a ton of life left. So it's just been sitting out in the rain a little bit. It's got a little surface rust on there, but it'll clean up. It'll be fine. So I'm gonna use this and get this element back together. And also I had another, that's the bad throwout bearing. I had another throwout bearing, K-series throwout bearing. This one doesn't look that great because I think it's also out of the HNSI, and it was sitting out there, but it feels fantastic. So we're gonna put this one back in it. All right, so I got my clutch fork, just a little bit of grease right here on the inside of the throwout bearing, and then we'll put just a dab of grease right where that throwout bearing rides, and then there's a little bit on the ball where it sits in there, and the throwout bearing sits on here like so. You don't want to put too much grease on this because it can get on the clutch disc and make a clutch slip, so try to avoid getting too much on there. And we get this jewel stuck back up in the element. It's not all the way made it up. See if I can get a bolt started in it. So you can see I was able to put the studs kind of into the mount, and then I got one bolt started on the bell housing bolts. So now I'm just gonna get a couple more bolts started and see if we can get her tightened down. So I got it up on the lift, and I got all the lower bell housing bolts in. So I got the one here, the one on the starter, and then 2 on the back. So now I can set the car back down, tighten the top 2 bell housing bolts, and go ahead and get everything squared away on the top side. Just gonna finish up everything up here, and then we'll pick it up and finish everything on the bottom. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten my mount bolts down. Tighten the last 2 bell housing bolts. I'm gonna go ahead and put my clutch line back in place. These 2 12 bolts. Maybe I'll be able to see despite my big old head being in the way. But so I got the clutch line reinstalled with the 10mm bolt back here. Got the 10mm bolt in the ground strap, and then I got the 2 12s in the clutch slave cylinder up here. And so the clutch line is on. I hooked the reverse sensor up, which is right under here. Got this bell housing bolt and this bell housing bolt down here tight. So all that's squared away. So, and I also got the 3 bolts that holds the mount on tight. So now I need to put the shift cables on. And they're just tucked away over here. All right, so on these we have 2 different lengths. So we have 2 that are this length and 1 that's this length. So the long one is right in the center, and then the short ones go here, and the one that's in the center on the front. All right, put our washers. So we got the plastic shim washer, whatever it goes. The bigger one goes on the one that's laying horizontal. The smaller one goes on the one that's vertical. And then I'm gonna put new cotter pins in these. And now I got it lifted up. I'm gonna get this speed sensor attached. Get this front mount installed. And these are 3 17mm bolts. Install dust shield here. Looks like all 4 of those bolts are the same length. Let's see. So on those we got the one that's vertical, one right here, and one that's right here. It comes in from the back. Now I'm going to install the half shaft, or the intermediate shaft, whatever you want to call it. Sorry about the glare from the sun. That's the only angle you'll be able to see it. That goes on here like so. Got 2 bolts with a shoulder. They go on the outside here, and then the one on top also has a shoulder, and then the one right here is just a regular bolt. Put our little dust shield back on. Goes right here. It has 3 little 12mm bolts. So one right here, one right up here, and then one right over here. Let's see. Now I think we're ready to put the subframe back in. All right, so I got a bolt through on both sides, pick it back up. So now what I do is just put one of the bolts through. Get it started. Work my way around. These are 17mm. So now I got all 4 of them started. Tighten them down. Easy peasy. I can take the bolt back out of the spindle to where I can put the axles back in. I'm gonna put a little anti-seize on the axle where it goes to the hub, just to make sure they don't try to seize in there again. I hate the smell of anti-seize. let's see. Got in the transmission there. Just take a little indices and put on his axle. Just try to keep him from sticking in the hubs in the future. So I got my axles back in here, 36 millimeter, tighten it down. Use a hammer and a chisel and stake it. We'll put our caliper back on. Let's see. The 12 millimeter. And we have one more 12 millimeter that holds the line on here, or the hose. And tighten these. So the nuts at 22 and the head of the bolt to 19. Same process for the other side. All right, so the last things I have to do down here is put my bolt in this front mount. And then the 314s in the back here. All right, so I got both of the wheels on. I got the lower valence here on, as well as the bottom of the bumper. So last thing we gotta do is there's a plug right here where my finger is. It comes out. It's a 17 millimeter, and then that's where the transmission fluid goes in, and we fill it up until it comes out. And I have a transfer pump right here, and a couple bottles of Honda manual transmission fluid. And so we're going to use that with the transfer pump and put the fluid in the transmission. Now I'm ready to set it down and finish up everything on top. All right, so I'm just going to be finishing up everything on top. I put the battery in here and started it up, make sure that everything felt good, and it did. So, and we have to put our bracket on the back of the transmission that holds the air box. There's 3 10 millimeter bolts for that. Put this air box back on. Stick our intake tube back on. Tighten these clamps down. Put the battery in. Alright, so I guess we're wrapping up the element now. And I've got it all reassembled, put a new battery in it. The other one was bad and it was the wrong size, so put another battery in it. Transmission's installed. It's running perfect. Shifts great. Runs great. And now it's for sale. Cleaned her up. Cleaned up pretty good. Yep. I almost considered keeping this thing for myself. It's got so much room in the back. Look at this. Man, you could put like 4 motors back there. Complete swaps for a Honda. Be a junkyard warrior. This heat unit's a little rough, but other than that, the interior's in pretty decent shape. So anyways, I guess that's gonna wrap up the Element repair series, whatever, and I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please smash the like button and comment, subscribe, and share. I really appreciate the shares. So I know this really truly wasn't a lot of information in this little series, but whatever. Anyways, guys, I appreciate it. Peace.